All right, next up for the AFC East, I've got the Patriots sliding into a comfortable third place in this division. I don't think they'll be able to compete with the Bills or the Dolphins, but I also think they're much better than the Jets. I really like the offseason the Patriots had. I like the moves Bill Belichick and the rest of the front office made. Starting off with on offense, they re-signed Cam Newton, which I think it's safe to say he's coming off the worst season of his career, especially as a passer. I mean, he did have 12 rushing touchdowns, so you can at least highlight that. But the first, I'd say, few weeks of last season, the Patriots' offense was firing on all cylinders. Newton and Josh McDaniels had really come up with a productive way to use him in the run game. Cam had a nice connection going with Julian Edelman, but then Cam got COVID. Other Patriots got COVID, got hurt. Edelman wound up going out for the season and wound up retiring at the end of the year. And when Cam came back, he had no one to throw to. It's guys like Demir Bird and N'Keal Harry, unreliable people, and they still managed to go 7-9, even with a ugly offense and a defense that saw a lot of people either depart in free agency the year prior or choose not to play due to COVID-19. So I like them bringing back Cam because it gives them an option at quarterback. They can work Alabama rookie quarterback, their first round draft pick, Mac Jones, into the offense at a pace they please. If Cam can, rediscover that magic he had with McDaniels early last season, maybe he can be the starter all year if they don't feel Mac Jones is ready, or maybe if Cam plays poorly, they can bring Mac Jones in if they're comfortable with that. But either way, I like how they set that up. So, especially in a season where you're not really expecting to make the playoffs, although I'm sure Bill Belichick probably believes he has a shot, but realistically speaking, it gives them a good foundation for Mac Jones to grow. I also like what they did with receiver because last year they had arguably one of the worst receiving cores in the entire league, and they spiced it up a lot this year. They kept Jacoby Myers, who's been really productive as an undrafted free agent, but they also brought in Nelson Aguilar, who just enjoyed a breakout season with the Raiders. He went from a very inconsistent slot guy on the Eagles to playing the role the Eagles thought they were going to get out of him with the Raiders last year. That's as a very, very productive deep threat. He had a career at 10 touchdowns in John Gruden's offense. They also brought in Kendrick Bourne, who's very underrated from the 49ers, played a solid role in their offense when they made the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago. Tight end, they went spending. That's another thing Bill Belichick did this offseason. He spent like he's never spent before. He brought in 2 tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Both have been very productive throughout their careers. Jonnu gives him a little more athleticism, a little more speed at the position. Hunter Henry's more your traditional tight end. Now, I will say it kind of makes his draft picks of Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene last year, the 2 tight ends he drafted, null and void. They probably won't see the field very much and are probably very available if anyone wanted to take a flyer on them. But regardless, the Patriots now have, I'd say, 5 viable receiving options. Not to mention James White is still on the team out of the backfield. And the other running back I'm excited for on this Patriots team is Damian Harris, who saw his snap counts go up and back and forth last year. He's competing with James White, Sony Michel, who I think it's safe to say, although he's been productive at times, has not lived up to that first round selection whatsoever. I think Bill Belichick is ready to move on to Harris. He's had some promising quotes about him, and Bill Belichick is never one to quickly praise you. So if he's pretty much saying that you're going to be the number one guy in his offense, he probably means it. So I'm excited for Damian Harris, see what he can do this season, especially behind what I consider one of the best offensive lines in football. They brought back David Andrews, which I think some people are surprised about. I don't think Bill Belichick chooses very carefully who he spends his money on, but since he was spending so much money this summer, I guess he was comfortable bringing Andrews back, but he's a good quality center. They got 2 really good guards in Shaq Mason and last year's undrafted rookie sensation Michael Onwenu, who proved himself very quickly. And at tackle, they still have got Isaiah Wynn and Trent Brown. They just got Trent Brown back from the Raiders. Brown had a really productive first stint with the Patriots, signed a big deal with the Raiders, but then since John Gruden and Mike Mayock decided to revamp the Raiders line entirely, Brown's back with the Patriots. He got traded back. So I'm really liking what the Patriots offensive line has in store for this season, especially for a guy like Damian Harris. I think it means he could have a big season. But even though the Patriots offense, has some potential, I think what you should really write home about with this team is the defense. Bill Belichick's big free agency spending spree can be seen most notably with the defense, and you see it right with starting with their secondary. You know, they're bringing back guys like Stephon Gilmore, obviously Defensive Player of the Year 2 seasons ago. There's rumors similar to Damian Harris that he wants to leave. He wants to get a bigger paycheck, and Bill Belichick traditionally does not pay his corners, as we've seen with guys like Darrelle Revis in the past. But I do think Gilmore will be there this season and healthy, because last year he had to deal with injuries as well as COVID, missed a good portion of the season. You also have J.C. Jackson coming back, who was really productive. He was right on Xavier Howard's tail for most of the year in the interception lead in the NFL. Also got productive guys like Jonathan Jones and Jawan Williams. Williams is probably going to fill some of the void Jason McCourty is going to leave as he goes to Miami this season. So good depth at corner for the Patriots. I also like their safeties as well. Devin McCourty is still there. He's been there for a long time. Always gets it done for this defense. Probably one of Bill Belichick's favorite people on this entire team. They also signed Jalen Mills from the Eagles, who, since converting over to safety, he's been better. Nothing to write home about, but he's a productive starting safety at this point in his career. Adrian Phillips is still on the team. I believe he led them in tackles last year, filling in for Patrick Chung, who I think he retired, or no, he sat out last year, and then he retired. So Adrian Phillips filled in quite nicely for him. Carter have a nice spot on this team for him. And then rookie safety from last year, Kyle Duggar. Belichick really values his ability to play, be a pass rushing linebacker, but also play safety. He's really versatile. Kind of filling that role Duron Harmon used to play for them is what I assume Belichick is looking for from him. But then at the pass rush and the linebackers are also really impressive. You got Dante Hightower coming back after missing all of last year because he dropped out because of COVID-19. He wanted to keep himself safe. But he returns, longtime leader of this defense on the interior. They also will have Jawan Bentley coming back, and they signed Raekwon McMillan, who was pretty productive for the Dolphins in years past, coming off a bit of a down season, but we'll see if the Patriots can revitalize him. But something I'm really interested to see how Belichick bounces is the defensive line rotations. He signed veteran Henry Anderson from the Colts. He's always been very productive as a run stopper. He's got Chase Winovich coming back, who had, he had a career high in sacks last season. And then his Belichick's defensive tackle rotation is going to be really interesting. He drafted Alabama defensive tackle Christian Barrymore in the first round, and he's expected to be a big difference maker right away. They also signed Devon Godchuk from Miami to, I believe, a 2-year deal. He's always been a productive defensive tackle for them. And they got Lawrence Guy coming back, longtime veteran for them. And they also have Byron Coart, a young defensive tackle who really stood out for them last season. And I also forgot to mention for the pass rush for the Patriots, they signed Matthew Judon. He was probably the most notable free agent signing from the Ravens to a big contract. They're also going to have young guys like Josh Uche, Anthony Jennings. Rookies from last year made a little bit of a dent in playing time, but I'm sure Belichick will want to see more from them this year. They brought back Kyle Van Noy, who signed a big deal with the Dolphins last year. He's coming back. So just a lot of names on this Patriots defense, and not all of them are going to get the play time maybe they have in the past, just because there's so many notable guys on this team. But if we know Belichick, he's going to make them all fit. He's going to make them all perform to the best of their ability. And I think this Patriots defense, if all things go right, I really think it could be a top 10 unit in the NFL, maybe even better. I don't necessarily think it's enough to make them playoff contenders this season. And even though I was touching on the potential of Cam Newton having a better season than he did last year, I still don't think it's a guarantee. And questions like that ultimately lead me to believe that the Patriots will not be in playoff contention this year. But nonetheless, they're a team to watch this year and for down the road.